normally I would advocate for this kind of thing, but I think one of the things that Jason Blum sometimes does is he gives the filmmaker too much power on a film. And I say that because I think sometimes, and I know this from like when I interview Lee Winnell, one of the ways Jason Blum does this is he'll ring a director and say, hey, I've got an idea for a movie, would you like to take it on board? But then it feels like he kind of gives that director and writer complete free reign, which is great if you've got a really good writer and director working on the film. Like I think we all saw that it kind of worked with the last Halloween movie, where it gave the director, writer complete control. It worked with The Invisible Man, because I don't know too many people who would have expected that Lee Winnell's Invisible Man would have been the film that it was, like a modern day horror thriller about domestic violence. The same with Lee Winnell's Upgrade. Like, I remember I interviewed him at that time, and he said he basically just mentioned to Lee Winnell, he mentioned to Jason Blum, oh, I've got this idea for a movie that I've been working on for a while. It's about a guy who ends up with kind of like a robot inside him that takes him over. And he said Jason Blum didn't ask for any more information. He was just like, here's the money, go make it. And that's great when you've got a great writer-director like Lee Winnell who comes up with fantastic ideas, but I kind of wonder whether that flops a little bit when you've got, like, Fantasy Island, where basically what's happened is you've got the director and the two writers and the star of Truth or Dare, and he's asked them to go away and do Fantasy Island. Now, maybe other studios would have kind of, like, looked at the script and gone, nah, this needs work, whereas in this case, it feels like they've just given them the green light and said, come up with whatever you want to. Here's the money. Like, normally I would advocate for a writer-director to have free reign on a film, but I think sometimes you do need that extra body in there kind of saying, hey, guys, I'm not really happy with this. Like, can you make it a little bit better? And, yeah, that's what I see here that hasn't happened with this movie. It feels like it needed that person in there who's gone, you guys, you need to do something with this ending. It doesn't work. So, I don't know, maybe I'm coming from it completely the wrong way, but that's, yeah, kind of how I view this movie, that it needed someone in the writer's room to go, guys, this is not going to work.
Yeah, it's like there's plenty of examples of films where, like, studio interference has kind of hurt the movie, but there's also plenty of examples of movies where maybe the director, as you said, maybe the director was given too much free reign. Like Black Christmas being another example that you brought up. Yeah, like for everyone like The Invisible Man, which seemed to be a movie that Lee Winnell was allowed to do whatever he wanted. He actually made something really interesting with license, which if Universal calling the shots, wanting to make it like their monster movie, there's no way that he would have been able to make that movie. Because it pushes the Invisible Man almost completely out of the film. He's almost not a character in his actual movie. But he was able to make something really interesting as a result of that. And I guess it's like, yeah, and you've got, on one hand, you've got The Invisible Man, or you've got Upgrade, or the Halloween remake, but then on the other hand, you can end up with something like Black Christmas or Fantasy Island, where like maybe some more oversight should have been taken with it.
Yeah. So I guess it leads to the big question: what are you going to give this one out of 5?
I'll give this one 2 out of 5. Like I said, I think it was a kind of a waste of a lot of opportunities that this license and this cast really had going for it, and so I think that the final product was just really, even though I didn't know, like as little as I know about the Fantasy Island TV series, I think that a Fantasy Island movie really does deserve something a lot better. And if they're going to go in a horror movie direction, again, you need to actually make it pop. You need to give us something that will make people think, wow, it was a really good idea to do this as a horror film, rather than, some weird supernatural flick.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, I loved it early on. I wanted to see more of Melanie's story. Like, that whole premise of, maybe it's because I viewed high school as a war zone, But that whole premise of like a girl getting revenge on the kids that bullied her at school, I kind of love that idea. Like, I thought this is going to go in a really good place. But I think the weakness of the film was too many characters and tried to be too smart in the end. It's like, I don't know, like I see it a lot with Hollywood horrors especially. It's like a B-grade horror is more than happy just to kind of like know what it is and like and be that. Like there were movies that I've watched over the years at Monster Fest where perhaps people that go to like a multiplex would kind of like criticize the movie and go, oh, it's just a slasher, or it's just this, or it's just that. Like, I was thinking before, like a great example would be some of the movies that I saw at this year's festival, where, like, I watched a movie that was about a group of people working at a cinema, and they put a movie on, and the movie kind of brings an evil to life, and that evil is like a seductress, and so there's like lots of gore in it and lots of nudity, and it's like, but that's what the movie is. Like, the movie doesn't try to be anything else. It's basically, yeah, it's a movie about gore and sex. That is the film, and the film doesn't try to be anything else. The same with this movie. This film felt like it needed to be a movie where it's like, you know what? This is a movie about people's fantasies turning into a nightmare. It doesn't need a supernatural thing that links all of the stories together. It just needs to be a movie about fantasies turning into nightmares. But it didn't rest on those laurels. It tried to be too smart and had too many characters. So, yeah, I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5 from me. And that's it for this episode of The Popcorn Conspiracy. Kyle gave Fantasy Island 2. I gave it 2.5. And we'll be back with another episode of The Popcorn Conspiracy very, very soon. I've been Dave G.
And I've been Kyle.
And we'll be back soon. See you soon.